Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Mathew Dickerson. How are you today?
I'm very good, thanks, Rod. How are things going out in Burke?
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, the Chamber of Commerce, it's got some changing rights to be announced.
Yeah, that's right. The Rhino Awards is a huge event in the Dubbo calendar, the Dubbo business calendar, and the Dubbo Chamber of Commerce does an absolutely fantastic job with the Rhino Awards. And they've got a new naming rights sponsor, and I can't tell you who it is, but this Thursday they'll be announcing that publicly. So that's pretty exciting because you've got such a big event in the Dubbo calendar. People are always interested in knowing who the sponsors are, but the naming rights sponsor is a big deal. So keep an eye out for that this Thursday.
For folks who don't know, what are the Rhino Awards?
So the Rhino Awards is an annual awards event that started way back about 1996 from memory, and that's basically an awards ceremony where individual award categories, so for example it might be a small business category or a green business category, so there's a range of different categories there. If I had to guess, I'd say there's probably 15 different categories. And the winner of each of those categories wins a silver rhino, and then the best of all of those businesses, all those winners of all those different silver rhinos, is then adjudged the gold rhino, or awarded the gold rhino as the best business in the region. So it's been going for a long time, and a huge amount of prestige involved with that award ceremony.
All right, and you're looking at getting some 3D printed homes in the Dubbo Shire.
That would be absolutely fantastic. It's a fascinating area, 3D printed homes. It's happening overseas. I know in the Netherlands, for example, there are people who have built 3D printed homes and they're renting them out, so there are people living in these homes now. In America, they're looking at building whole neighbourhoods of 3D printed homes. And the idea is that it reduces the number of people you need to build the home, because we've got a bit of a labour shortage at the moment around the world in terms of construction. And it also makes it much quicker to produce. So one of our councillors, Matt Wright, brought forward the notice of motion to council last week, and he said he wanted the idea of 3D printed homes to be trialled or tested out in the Dubbo market. And so he wanted 4 of our blocks of land to be released next year to be dedicated specifically to 3D printed homes. Now, that actually generated a fair bit of media interest to the point where we've now got several companies who've approached council to come along and tell us about their 3D printed homes. In fact, I've got the first of those meetings tomorrow, and that'll be a discussion around just what they can do, what they can offer. From a council perspective, you still need to comply with all the building legislations. You need to make sure that you've got a legal complying plan and building that will stay up and be confident that it does all that. Obviously, it happens around the world, so we're pretty confident that would happen. But we've got to make sure it complies with the state legislation around homes as well. So I'm actually really intrigued to see how this will go, how this will play out. But I'd love Dubbo to be the first place in the region, maybe the first place in the state or even the nation to have some 3D printed homes.
Does sound very exciting. And e-scooters, you'd like to see a trial in the Dubbo Regional Council area?
Many, many years ago, I'm going back, probably back to 2013 or thereabouts, Rod, I actually approached the state government to allow segways to go around our Tracker Riley cycleway, which is our cycle and walkway that goes around the river. And the state government, we talked about it for about a year and a half, I think, from memory. It went on for a while. And eventually the answer was no, we're not going to be allowed to have segways around there. Fast forward a number of years now to 2022, and Parramatta and Wollongong have just been given permission by the state government to have trials of e-scooters. Now, e-scooters, people might be familiar with, you can buy them and ride them on private property in Australia, but when you travel around overseas, and even in some states in Australia, you've got e-scooters in popular tourist destinations or in the CBD of various cities. You scan your QR code with your phone on the e-scooter, and then that lets you log onto that e-scooter and ride that, and you get charged a small amount of money as you do that. So that's the trial specifically they're talking about, those tourist-type e-scooters. So Parramatta Wollongong allowed to have them. The rest of the state, they haven't made any announcement, but we've put our hand up and said we'd like to be considered for an e-scooter trial. Some people in Dubbo are a bit concerned about that because they've seen them at other places around the world where they just get dumped in different places and they clutter up the footpaths and that type of thing. Sometimes people pick them up and throw them in the river. So there are some concerns about what's happening around the world. What we've wanted, or what we've asked for initially, is really just to have that same trial we talked about with segways years ago, having them around Tracker Riley. So not on the footpaths, not on the streets of Dubbo. Let's just start with Track O'Reilly and then maybe even incorporate the zoo. If that becomes successful, then maybe we'll look at the CBD of Dubbo. But for a start, let's just look at that e-scooter trial around those areas. We've still got to talk to the community a bit more about it because we haven't even been given permission by the state government to go a step further. But I think it'll happen. I think it'll happen fairly quickly.
I do hope it does happen. We're speaking with Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Mathew Dickerson, and some upgrades to some local sporting grounds amenities.
Yeah, this has been a good project that's taken a little while to come to fruition, but any project where you can get another level of government to make some contributions is a good project. So we've had some upgraded amenities, facilities at both Apex Oval with the Dubbo Junior Rugby League facility there, and also at South Dubbo Oval where mainly AFL and Ultimate Frisbee are played. So now those dressing rooms, those change rooms, the toilets, all those areas there have been significantly upgraded. And when you look at what they used to be, and I remember playing footy at the old South Dubbo Oval. I didn't ever play at Apex Oval. That was not a footy ground when I was a kid, but the grounds there, you basically got changed out in the open somewhere. You didn't really have an area that was undercover to go and get changed, and you had some toilets there. That was about the best of it, but now they've been upgraded significantly. So I'd even go so far now, Rod, as to call them change rooms. They're that significant. So they've been two good projects. They've been mostly funded by the state government. The council put in a bit of money, but more funding came from the state government than from council, which again, those projects when you're getting more than 50% out of state or federal are fantastic projects from a council perspective. But as kids play sport and even as adults play sport, using those grounds there now, they'll have much better facilities.
All right, and let's just circle around to where we started, the Chamber of Commerce. Just a question without notice because I like them. How's the local business community going?
In general, I think we've got a very strong economy in Dubbo at the moment. You do have some hot and cold areas. Obviously, during COVID, the hospitality industry suffered dramatically, but the hospitality industry seems, in my opinion, to have bounced back quite well. Most of the operators in that sort of area have gone along reasonably well. And the same with retail in general. Most retailers have done quite well now that we've come out of the pandemic and people can shop again. There have been some areas where maybe one or two operators have suffered significantly, but we've still got 12% of our employment in the Dubbo LGA in the retail sector, so it's still a fairly strong sector there. So in general, I see a lot of strength in the business community, and the numbers are showing that we're recovering quite well from COVID, and again, some industries actually performed better than expected during COVID.
That does sound like a bit of good news to end on. Mathew Dickerson, thanks for your time.
My pleasure, Rod. Always happy to chat.